There we go. Alarm keeps coming on. They've been in 2, 3 times to try to fix it.
Would you have the sewer?
Y'all please rise to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Brian.
Here.
Beth. Here. Gilbert.
Yeah.
Don't have any extra guests today. Alright, so we'll open up the floor to any public questions or comments.
I wanna know what kind of trouble they're having with the plant up there if they'd had the sewer truck up there.
Do you have an answer for that, Tim?
The plant, the last 3 months has not met permit, the compliance permit. And that's to be expected. It's a new plant. And the EPA suggested that we bring in some seed from another plant. We seed the plant, bacteria, so that's why the sewer truck is up there. He's basically dumping activated sludge in the plant for seed to try to help the plant get going.
Now, we're getting this from another sewer plant?
I got it from this kingdom.
What was the cost on that?
I asked him for an estimate. Amy should have
I
the
can
invoice.
tell you. I have it in my pile of papers. I think it was $300.
And it'll cost us how much to get rid of it at a later date.
Once the plant gets on, it should eat most of it up. You know, you're gonna have sludge that you're gonna have to get rid of eventually. That's just the nature of the beast. That's how the way the plant operates. But I mean, you gotta get something going there for the plant to operate the way it should. I've been working at the EPA the last month on it. John from the EPA been in about 2 times. So he's aware of it, they're aware of it in Columbus. But that won't stop the waste and papers, you know, from coming. You know, they don't have, that then computer generated and they gonna come anyways. So
Tim, how many gallons a day you get?
average in about 4,000 gallons a day, average.
And how many people are hooked up? Approximately.
Approximately on the list, approximately 65. You know, me and Amy went over a couple of things the other night. There's probably about 4 added to that, 4 to 5 added to that.
So we're about at capacity.
Pretty close. Yeah.
So we're never gonna hit that 30,000.
No. But that's something.
Is that gonna be a problem?
When you design these plants, the EPA always wants them designed, you know, at least a certain percentage over, so that's why it's over designed. All the plants that operate, all of them over designed. So, you know, it's better to have added capacity than put a plant in and say, oops, we didn't plan.
Right.
So, you know, the capacity's there. If anything over comes in or another turn might want to hook in, you know, the capacity's there.
Are we gonna keep fighting this since the capacity, or since we're not getting that much?
Eventually, the plant's gonna come into
Okay.
compliance, eventually. It just takes time. It's a
Alright.
new plant. Winter time's a bad time to try to get plant going. I had the same problem with pork. 4 months for pork to come into compliance. So, you know, it just takes time. It's a new plant. Everything's new. It just takes time for the bacteria to get going and come into compliance.
Is that gonna eliminate that foam going down the creek?
It should, you know, it's probably gonna always be a little bit of foam, because the way that system's designed, it aerates everything to bring up the dissolved oxygen. So it's always gonna create a little bit of foam probably from the aeration. but it's just like, you know, it's eventually gonna go away.
Was that foam dangerous to humans or animals or anything?
Should be.
And it shouldn't be or it is. It either isn't or it
It's
isn't.
if as long as it's meeting the EPA's permit, it won't be dangerous.
Is it meeting?
As of right now? As of now,
This is the recreational season, right?
the ammonia is what causing the flood, and it's high right now. That's why we are not in compliance. But you're always gonna have some ammonia in the effluent. EPA limit in the summer is 1.5, and you agitate that water if that in it. You know, even if you're in permit, you're still gonna create foam, but it meets the EPA's permit.
Have you did the disinfection?
Disinfection, we are not in the season.
I thought April 1st was the season.
No, May 1st.
May 1st. Okay. So you still don't, you're not worried about kids playing back here?
I'm not as worried about kids praying back there as I am everything that's in that creek. I mean, everybody's throwing all kinds of junk in that creek. There's glass in that creek.
Right.
I wouldn't leave my kids playing in that creek because of that. I'd have concerns on them getting cut. You know, the creek's probably cleaner now than it's been in years. You don't have all the tons septic tanks dumping into it, so
Well, you never did.
it's probably
Yeah,
cleaner
there
now.
never was any septic, so Fred's is a close.
There might have been.
Downstream, all the septic
Downstream, it
tanks,
goes underground right after it leaves my place down
all
there.
the septic tanks are still dumping into the creek, because eventually they do discharge into that. Okay,
Ain't none of them dumping the creek, is it, Fred?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think that was ever an issue either on the reports. That they never had fecal contamination of the creek. It was the ditches.
but the ditches eventually dumps to
Right.
the creek.
Well, it goes underground right after it leaves my place. The only time it runs above ground is when it's raining real hard.
I've got to change the subject.
Okay.
Vicky gave this to me the last, I don't know if I want to give this back to Vicky or you guys but generator papers and the generator's pretty trouble-free, but there is maintenance that needs to be done on it. Cummins gave the quote. It's a 5-year contract. It's about $500 a year. So the total quote's like $2,500. There's not that much maintenance on that generator that, you know, if I get the itself, that I couldn't do it. It's pretty simple. It's pretty small engine, pretty simple to do. It's up to you guys, but it's gonna be about $500 a year. They want up front $2,500. So, you know, I was gonna, you know, I'll give this to Vicky, back to Vicky if you guys wanna see it.
It has to start here.
Okay, I'll give this to you.
Thank you.
So, you know, for all it's gonna be, you know, we could do that and save a bunch of money per year. I mean, you're gonna change the lubricant once a year, change the filters.
So it looks like just real basic maintenance.
Yeah, basic maintenance. There's a monthly maintenance on it, and I do that automatic.
Or a roof could do something like that.
Yeah.
Does this thing go off automatically?
Yes,
Once a
it's
week or
a
so?
test. It tests every week.
Alright, so this be new business.
Well, I got a few things. What's the status of getting hooked up?
As far as
My properties.
last I spoke to Jason, they were coming back when it was warmer weather some point this month. I haven't heard back from them since I last sent them a list of who was, that we understood who was supposed to be hooked up versus who was hooked up. It was supposed to be figuring out that, and supposed to be getting with it was supposed to compare that list to whom he already had hooked up, who he had, and what information they had or didn't have as far as who all was supposed to be hooked up. So I guess that's a bunch of mud. However, he said he was going to get with the engineer, and then that was supposed to be passed on to EPA to figure out and make sure everybody who was supposed to be hooked up is on the proper list. I have not heard back from him since that time.
Chris said at the meeting that the only people that were certain to get a fundable connection had to be signed up before the project started. I gave the easements, so, except for the shack over there. My pavilion and my house were both easements. There's at least 15 people that didn't give easements that got hooked up, so when it comes down to push to shove, I just want that in the minutes somewhere.
Well, your names or properties are on the list of the ones that are passed on to be hooked up. So
He said that it wouldn't be a problem for the town hall to get hooked in. If I can't get hooked in, how can a town hall get hooked in? You know?
Why?
Chris said it shouldn't be a problem to get this place hooked in.
But why shouldn't we be able to?
You don't
You
have
ain't got
water.
no water. You ain't got no land to put a pipe through.
Well, it's supposed to be residents and businesses. In the original contract, when we got the loan, it said that residents and businesses were to be hooked up. That's what the EPA loan was for.
Do you have the ordinance,
Is additional.
which ordinance would you like?
the sewer ordinance? It says exactly who's supposed to be hooked up.
But the EPA, when
You got
we were
which-
negotiating.
I've got all the ordinances
Pam,
here.
you don't know.
specific
You
ones.
I
you
feel
weren't
like-
involved in it.
Chris and I talked to the engineers. They blatantly stated that at the meetings.
Yeah, he says
And it says if they
certain to
come
get a
back,
fundable connection right there.
This
if
one?
we-
Or is
Oh,
this
I
one?
don't know.
This
I don't
one?
know what he's talking about. Okay.
Then we are liable for it.
And who shouldn't be hooked up?
I don't know. What did the paper say?
What does the paper say?
When we got the loan. When we got the
Okay,
money.
we're looking. So just hold on, please.
It says
Well,
right
if you look
there.
at sewer system regulations, if you're talking about I think 02 was actually replaced with 15, which is back here. Let me find the new, with 9, I'm sorry, let me find
Every
9.
residence.
Right here. Says, any house, building, or properties used for human occupancy, employment, recreation, or other purposes situated within the area under the jurisdiction of the village and abutting any street, alley, or right-of-way in which there is now located or maybe in the future be located a public sanitary sewer of the village may hereby be provided easement to the village to allow access to sewer lateral for repair, replacement, general purpose, etc. So basically, any house,
building.
building, properties, or human occupancy or employment, recreation, or other purposes within
Okay,
the
so
village.
Is that what the EPA said when we negotiated the loan?
They have nothing to do with
That's
that.
what's in the ordinance. That's what.
They gave us a loan. It's up to the village to make sure that loan money is spent on this ordinance.
I can tell right now the EPA could care less about that ordinance. The EPA is gonna look at the homes that's active that in the system, that's the ones they're gonna want hooked in. The funding did not cover future homes, stuff that, either, mobile home parks, trailers that's not active or.
And you would know
or
this
all that.
how?
I talked to Chris about it a number of times, and there's so much funding to get so many
Right.
homes hooked in, and I can tell you right now it's running pretty tight. And for what you want them to do over there, Fred, that's
I signed the
That's-
easement.
just 'cause you sign an easement don't
Really?
mean you're gonna get it.
Well, 15 other folks did.
Well,
Well, they
That-
ended up signing
That
it.
building has septic coming out of it. The EPA doesn't want that hooked into the village system.
It's over 200 feet from the pipe.
It's 500 foot.
Yeah, and that ordinance read where if you're over 200 feet, you don't have to tie into it.
I want tied in,
Well, there's certainly certain things would be
and
considered.
that's really not
self-pay.
what it says, Chubby.
It does say something about that,
It says 200 foot.
yeah.
Everybody has to tie in at
But
some
you know
point.
what it's gonna cost to contract
I don't care.
for the
Of course he does.
construction people to
I
run
don't
that
care.
500 feet down there
It was
to the main
supposed to have
line?
been done.
No, that's outside the contract.
No, it's not. And if we have to spend village money in court, that's fine. You know?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we'll spend all the money for the village, we'll just dissolve the village,
That's right. Go back to township.
we'll go to the township.
That's fine.
That's something, though, that's something for the EPA, that is
Yeah,
above
that's-
and beyond us.
Yeah, it's,
I mean, that's.
No, we have an ordinance.
But you, just because you have an ordinance doesn't mean you can write your own rules. Certain
That
people,
is the rules.
You are governed, but
Yeah, that is the rules. Everybody
Okay.
seems to forget.
it's not even worth discussing.
If I wouldn't have wanted to hook in, people would have been bitching because I didn't have to hook in.
No, Freddie, nobody
Oh,
cares what
well,
you do.
whatever.
We just have a limited amount of money.
Yeah,
Okay, so,
and
uh,
it's been spent on a lot of other things. Okay, about the electric to the grinder pumps. Billy says I have to hook in. How are they gonna get electric to these pumps they own? Brian, somebody from the village has to look into this. It's not my job.
I don't see anything directly stipulated in here. I just know that everybody has to be in compliance, and that's
Are you-
between the parties and the health department, I guess, if you're not in compliance of hooking in.
the contract is
say.
wanting to hook into your house, Fred. Are you gonna give them permission to do it?
No,
Okay.
they can hook the sewer
It's
up.
gonna
They can
come-
hook the sewer up. When it backs up into my house, somebody's gonna have a liability issue there.
Well, you know, that's part of the easement that you.
No, it's not part of the easement.
Yeah, and there's already black mold there, so we can't be
Alright,
responsible
so-
for that.
I just know if you're not in compliance,
you
that's
don't know
between you're in
anything.
the
Pam,
health department. So,
Where do you see black mold? How would you know anything about black mold in
That-
my
Are you
house?
threatening me, Fred?
Huh?
This
Hey,
isn't
hey, hey.
personal.
Alright, between the two of
Hey,
you.
guys.
Stop.
Twisted.
this is not the time and place for that.
Yeah, you need to quit running your mouth.
Okay.
Both sides need to chill out, please. We
well,
have,
I have a question.
we have the,
I have a question. What was the intention of the grinders to begin with
To serve.
when it was set up? No, I mean, how were they going to be run?
Evidently,
the
we never
question.
got to that point. And no, you know,
But I mean, I guess my question is, shouldn't this have been set up
it should have been
back
yes.
then?
Yes.
So, like, what was the intention then?
I don't know if there ever was an intention. We never got around to that point.
Well, you already made allowances to pay the guy $3 a month off his electric bill, right?
Correct.
that's correct.
Okay.
So where in the world does it say that I have to provide this electric?
Hey,
I don't know about
that's
that.
your
I just
business,
know
Fred,
that,
that
right.
ain't mine.
I don't know about that. I just know everybody's supposed to be in compliance with, according to EPA and the regulations. And
Right.
that's,
And to be in
argument
compliance,
outside of this.
the village has to have electric to their pump. That's not my pump, Brian. Should I have to go out here and say, well, I'll take care of this street light?
I understand what your, I understand
That's
your
why
point of
we pay
argument.
taxes.
I understand your point of argument, but that's outside of the purview of what I understand from this and what's in here. So that would be, I would say, if it's some decision at a later date, if you're gonna, this is gonna be amended, or you know, the council to decide, because all we're doing right now is trying to make sure people are in compliance with what we have in front of us. And I don't have the answer for that either.
All right.
Yes,
what-
sir.
I can tell her that when the contractors comes back in, they gonna wanna get this done and demo the septic tank. And, you know, that's it. Once they gone, it's gonna be
Up
the
to the village
property
money.
owner's responsibility to demo the septic tank.
Well, we'll see about that.
Anything, any other questions?
Yes. Chris said somebody from the village should go around and ask the resident about damages from the construction. Any thoughts on that?
I got it,
Have you talked to everybody?
not yet.
Well, I know that I was asked of people to report to the council or BPA to report, pass on to Chris, and I haven't gotten any.
Well, I've got some
Anybody's
trees that were damaged. They still haven't cleaned up that mess at the bottom of the hill. They still got dirt back there on my land. You know, when this started, they said they would take care of everything, so.
And the last I spoke to them, that's what they're still saying they'll do when they come back, and they say immediate needs to get a hold of them. And I haven't heard outside of myself telling them that there's a sinkhole back there. I don't know of anybody else who said anything to them.
I've talked to them a number of times about the sinkhole I had back there, and they fixed it every time. As soon as I reported to them.
Did anybody make a report about that accident up there at the village building?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I got it.
That's fine, Ray.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Catch basin in the back alley. It was put there to keep that hillside from washing off. Well, a leak's either pulled it and covered it up or just filled it in, and it's starting to wash away again. So in a few years, the village would probably be putting another one back in. Might want to check on that.
That would be, who's on the council? I can't remember that lady's
Dawn.
name. Dawn.
Yeah, there's also a culvert down in that area that's not, for whatever reason, there.
Yeah, I thought she had brought that up once.
She did.
That's all for me.
Anything further? As far as old business, the what's
Do
that?
we have any more of that?
Oh,
Tim?
you have anything for more about the sewer progress? Anything you need to report other than you already have? Basically, the gist of it is we're trying to get in compliance with bringing sludge in, etc. Old business would be rates that are being charged for. There's been discussion about the rates that are in the ordinance in place and the rates at ERU and so forth, and the rates being charged to non-residential customers. Amy has a copy of what the current rates call for. These are calculated by taking, let's see, what is that? Ordinance. This was from ordinance 13/2015. I know it was ordered for the have the correct math in there. The 3563 for non-residential users, which basically this is all calculation of taking that user rate and multiplying it by the ERU, so forth. Everybody knows how that multiplies and so forth, how that works. Question comes in when you do the math on this. Several places come underneath the minimal amount of that 3563 just on the math alone. Obviously, you would bring them back up to the minimal rate. However, there's other ones that are like the biggest one that's been talked about is Mifflin Inn. That's well over that amount, which according to when you do the math, it would be $769.50 a month.
How much?
$769.50 a month.
Now, they're gonna close the inn down. They're gonna still have to pay that every month?
Not-
Yes, unless they,
Not if they close.
why wouldn't they? It's in the ordinance.
Yeah, in the ordinance, it don't make a shit whether it's occupied or
Right.
not. You still
That's-
gotta pay it unless you disconnect
Disconnect.
all the pipes.
Yeah.
So they'll have to pay it unless they do the disconnect fee.
Right.
We'll never get nobody else in there at that price.
Nope.
Well, that's what we're discussing today. We're discussing the options of adjusting the rates to more the more fair and balanced, because you have a situation also that's been that I've discussed with Amy and I've talked to Vicky some, where we have the assembly hall down there for the Lions Club.
Yeah.
Which they use that for a church
Meeting,
services in
church,
there, other meetings and so forth. According to the math, they would only be paying $35.63, which would be the minimum month. However, you have just up here at the street with the church itself, which they have services and maybe have less activities and over the month potentially, and then the hall does down there. Theirs would be $106.88 a month. So there's not a whole these rates aren't really necessarily balanced per se. The service station across the street here, the Mifflin Market, which I still don't know that they have a public restroom, do they? Or that's where it was brought up, is they don't have a public restroom. However, the rate of charging them currently, as it sets, would be $178.13 a month.
And what about the end zone?
The end zone would be.
That's not
That's
right.
not the correct.
I'm
one.
sorry, that's not right.
100 That was used off the.
That was off the old one.
I think it was
because
around 140.
They have a certificate of occupancy,
which most
at
places don't have the
31.
certificate of occupancy. That's only one.
so. $198.79.
That was the end zone?
Yeah. Yeah, that
And
that
that's
top
based
number
on
should, that on your sheet here,
Just,
that top number should not be what it is. It should be 198.79. That was my mistake. I didn't change it for the correct seating. So if you look on your second sheet here that looks like this, I called around to some places to try to get an idea of what.
Vesper's body shop. Is there any plumbing in there? Does anyone know?
They ain't hooked in.
They didn't, Vesper Body Shop is no longer a body shop, it's just his garage.
Okay.
And West Side Garage is not either.
Why were they never hooked in?
I don't have an answer to that one.
They,
I know that.
I don't think they have.
I know that there was said to be no using plumbing back here is what I was told at one point when I questioned, but other beyond that, I don't know.
So it's just basically gonna be used as a garage, and they didn't need a restroom, so.
Well, he's got a
That's
restroom
not
in
what the
there.
ordinance says.
Uh-uh.
We just pick and choose.
Well, there's a tap there, but
No, where's the tap at?
there is a tap Vesper, but they didn't hook in.
For the West
They
Side
said-
Garage back there.
I'm talking the body shop on Ohio Street.
Right.
Yeah.
He basically said that he's gonna convert it to a garage, and he did not need a restroom in it.
In the ordinance, it
Mm.
exactly addresses that issue.
It does state any house, building, properties, human occupancy, etc. So that's how they know how to be.
That's revenue for the village.
Same with the West Side Garage is right here, back here on North
They have a
Carolina.
restroom back here.
They have the water shut off, but they're not occupancy, so it's
It doesn't
obviously
say
still
nothing in
on
the
the bill.
ordinance about the water being shut off.
No.
Nope, it
It
just
has to be
says be there.
disconnected.
Yeah,
The
Now, they
plumbing
can
thing-
pay $250 after they're hooked in. That's what the ordinance says.
So Vesper and West Side have taps.
No, West Side, is that
That's the one.
136
That's right back here.
mini?
no, that's
Minnesota?
North
Yeah.
Carolina.
Actually,
No,
Minnesota.
It's Minnesota.
They'll
Oh,
come
okay.
off the back.
There's
Okay.
one that I'm thinking that we did not put a tap in, cause, we couldn't make no contact with them, it's just a garage, and we did not put a tap there for them.
That wouldn't.
Well, they was informed about it, I heard.
Yeah,
They gave an
they're
easement.
aware. They're aware of it, and yeah, there is an easement, and they're on the
They
list.
have not paid anything. The only thing that
A
I
lot
have
of people in
gotten,
the village have not paid.
the only thing that I have got from the West is what has been assessed on their taxes. They have not physically sent me a check for anything.
Yeah, they're aware, and they were on the list that was passed on to Jason to make sure everybody was supposed to had a tap So as of right now, if they're still considered a business, as far as Westside Garage and Vespers would be, that'd be $178.13 a month as the ordinance is written. As far as our
The
understanding
garages?
goes. Yeah, as far as unless we're not looking at the ordinance and how they're classified, etc.
Where'd you get your numbers for that?
I was looking at the ERU back here.
Of each business?
Yeah, how it's
It isn't-
stipulated and specified.
It isn't broke out by each particular business.
business.
It's
It's
based
talking
on
about
seating.
business type.
Right.
So if there's no seating, it would be the minimum.
Well, if you got the business type, so is it considered a service station? Is it considered a
Something else.
Well, that would
retail
be
store? I mean,
that's-
that's a service station for sure, but
Right.
then that's where we are discussing whether those should be classified as a service station, quote unquote, or
Where?
if there's not really another. I mean, is it really an office building? I mean, that's something we need to talk today about, finding out how we're going to classify these places, or if something else needs to be adjusted here
I don't
to
know if it
classify them.
says in that ordinance, but all others will be charged at the minimum. I
No,
don't
this
know
is
if it
what,
says
this
that.
is, do you remember, I don't know, somebody found a piece of paper that was, and I don't have a copy of it. Do you have a copy of that?
I just have it on my phone. If you're talking about the one that was,
It was something that we used in the very beginning for flow calculation.
Okay,
And there was this place for each individual business.
okay,
It had the count, what the unit of measure was.
okay.
And then, not this part here. Then it had all the flow rate calculations.
Let's see if I still have
So,
it.
then, since this unit of measure was here, then we went back to the place in the ordinance.
Yeah, I
Based
have it.
on the 30,000.
Based on
No.
the type of user to get
What
what
they
the
call-
ERU is.
Yeah, they called the West Side Garage on that. And Vespers Garage is considered a service.
They called
bay.
it a service station. One service bay.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know.
It's kinda
Garage,
difficult.
He closed it down, didn't he?
I don't know.
I don't know if that's. That might be something you have to talk to Chris about. I don't know.
I mean,
Or if it's in the ordinance, that's where you're.
'Cause right now we're
Well-
playing catch up as a BPA to back to all the ordinances and all the other stuff that's previously passed and try to sort through this situation and make sure the bills get paid, but at the same time, not excessively charge one place and not charge another place fairly, or however you want to look at it. And that's where a lot of this, when you come down and doing the math, that's where none of these calculations,
Right,
you know,
and-
they don't
and-
they add up, but they don't add up, if you know what I mean. It's
and can I say something?
transparency. Yes, sir.
The
Ma'am. Sorry.
The Mifflin Dairy Bar, for example, on that flow calculation, it has a count of 4, and the unit of measure is a coffee shop employee. Well, back here on this ordinance, there's only a couple things that is by employee. So we've got restaurant, retail store, 10.10 per employee. If you do the math, it's going to calculate it way low. So, you know, it does say that the minimum is 1 ERU. However, when I did call different places to see how much they're paying for sewer, I called Ashland and tried to come up with something in Ashland that was comparable to what we would have down here. And there is a Pete's Treat on 250, and she said for just sewer, their bill ranges anywhere from $50 to $447 a month for just sewer.
Based on their usage of
flow,
water.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, however, they do not pay on the off season, so they only pay when they're
using
open.
water.
When they're using the water.
They have a meter on theirs
Yes.
for a flow
Yes,
rate.
yes, they have a meter. So, you know, when she said that, I'm like, is $35.63 really fair for the Mifflin Dairy Bar? I'm not thinking so. So, that's what this page is here that I've given to you guys. I called Ashland, Jeromesville, Polk, and Hayesville to get what they, and I tried to get as close to what we have down here as possible. Now Polk, they are like $75 for everyone, whether they're residential or non-residential, except for the Polk store, because that was just a mistake in their ordinance. The decimal place was not where it was supposed to be. So the Polk store is getting $75.94 per month. Jeromesville, their base rate usually for everyone is $40.50. For the non-residentials, they said the body shop, and the bar, sometimes it goes up 45-ish.
They have a meter on theirs too, or?
Yes, I think so.
So essentially, it sounds like places around us have a meter on their non-residentials, and this
Yeah, I
our
don't know
village.
why
Well-
we didn't get flow meters. Why didn't we get flow meters, Fred?
Well, they have water too.
They have
though.
water.
Oh,
They have water
on their
too.
meters, not on their sewer.
Right.
Yeah.
And so does Hayesville, but
It's
They
based
have
on their
water, too.
usage.
right, your sewer gets charged based on a calculation of what you use for water. They don't register their sewer outflow. It's based on what your water usage is.
And I guess they would make a meter for the outflow of the sewer.
They
If somebody
do.
wanted to pay for it.
They do, but Chris said, or somebody said, yeah, that's not something that you want to
You
do.
have to pay to get somebody to go around and read them.
Right, you got to read them,
Uh,
and that's not.
Cost effective that way.
All I know is that when this is your decision to get the rates in line so we can pay the bills. So when you do that, just remember that all these numbers were based on something to keep it at $28.50 a month.
Well, I understand that. As far as that
If all
goes,
these go down, something's got to come up.
Well, we're not saying that they.
we're not saying that somebody else doesn't necessarily have to pay more. We're just saying, is it
Well, it's just
reasonable to? Are we in a situation where we're trying to figure out, is it reasonable to charge one
The
one
restaurant's
business
$769,
$769, while other places are paying $35.63,
Well,
and they may have just as much or more usage than the restaurant.
I don't think anybody in town will have the usage
Even close to that.
that does that. They do dishes, they have restrooms, high strength. Chris always was strong on that because of no showers and stuff.
Okay,
Everything coming out of there is high strength.
I can tell you that Linway,
Okay.
because I figured that was the most comparable to the Mifflin Inn, they average 350 for just sewer.
Okay.
So that's quite a bit different
my
than
point to that was, is
770.
you have the town, they have the Lions Club down there. They have, their AA meetings. They have the
Right.
club meetings. They have the church assemblies. I mean, there's a lot of people in and out of there.
Right.
And as of current situation, it's $35.63. They're paying minimum. And you have the church on the other hand paying 3 times that much. And then you have, the store or the restaurant over here. Yes, it has different volumes and so forth, but they're paying 20 times that much. That seems to be
Well, that's
it doesn't seem to be.
would be the same as Ashland. I mean,
Well, it's not, because Ashland is 350 and this is calculated as 770.
but what I'm saying
I guess
is
what he's saying is the lower
some
business
people
rates.
are paying
paying-
less, some
yeah.
people are paying more. That's
That's the way it is. I understand, but are we? Where my question? The question is should they be paying that much more and other places being paid that much less? Is there maybe a more balance to bring some of the ones out
Well-
here up a little bit and them down a
Yeah,
little?
that's the thing you're gonna have to look into.
Is the Linway paying $100 and a store in town paying $10? I don't know. That's
Well, it
10
doesn't appear
times
to be
as
that
much.
way because we're looking at. We're looking at Troy Road. Well, in some sense, essentially, yes. In some ways, that is. You got Troy Road paying like $25 a month.
Right.
Landway's paying $350. So yes, that is that much more. We expect that part, but at the same time, is when you have Mifflin Inn, or excuse me, Mifflin is paying that much more. Is that accurate for them? And then is it accurate to have $35 for the town hall down there? I don't.
Well, and the
what's
other
their
thing
usage?
That's where
is,
you're seeing.
you know-
That's
you're
what
in
we're trying to
that
figure out right
seat, yeah.
now.
With them closing down, is somebody going to come in knowing that they're going to have $770 right off the bat?
So are you gonna give tax breaks now? I mean, if that's what's gonna happen, say it.
I don't
I
know
don't
if we call
consider
it
that a
considers a tax
tax
break.
break.
It's figuring out the sewage rates. I mean, I knew we were trying. I know initially, everybody was trying to keep everything really cheap for the private residents. However, when you look around, and which is great for each individual homeowner, when we look around and some people are complaining about the situation, we got a lot of this handed to us for free. That's just the fact. Everybody has talked about that. That kind of gets glossed over. You have places like Polk where the residents are paying $75 a month. I mean, so we're substantially lower. So and if we have to raise the residential users up a little bit to compensate for this, I mean, in all reality, people are getting a reasonable package. Now, I understand if the businesses close off and they cut the system off and they're gone, well, they're not paying, so somebody's gonna have to pay for the rest of the pie that's left. That's gonna go to their residents anyways. And in all reality, somebody's gonna have to pay for it. We got to pay the bills. All we're trying to figure out is we're trying to figure out what's reasonable here. If somebody else has some ideas of what's reasonable, whatever, that's just. I understand businesses will pay more, but there just seems to be a real large discrepancy between the amounts.
We have to be careful not to run our businesses out of town. You know what I'm saying? Because
Well, that's
we
a
get-
tax base and so
we have to
forth.
be careful not to run our residents out of town. That's
Well, that's what's
why
gonna
we
happen.
got 2850, because the businesses are paying that. That was the whole idea of this deal. If it was gonna be $50 a month, we probably would not have sewer today. You know?
Well, we have sewer here today, so somebody's gonna have to pay it. So
Right.
that's where we got to figure out what's fair and balanced. And as it looks as here, when you guys calculated that situation out, because you were there, were you guys looking at like the minimum payments by all the
All the numbers
town
are
halls
in
and
here,
so forth?
Brian. The EPA would not have let us do this if those numbers would not have worked. You know, I'm sure they've looked it over and said, okay, here's all the numbers. Can they afford this? Yes. Or they wouldn't have let us have this. I mean, I hope you understand that they're smarter than that. I mean,
Well, I understand that the
Okay.
bills all have to be paid, but as we're saying, I get that bottom line, but we're trying to find out if there's any disparity here, where maybe one's because at the same token, when this was calculated, the end zone, for instance, was calculated out at the 76.95 rate. Well, according to the certificate of occupancy that does exist, that's the only place that has one in
Right.
town that makes them then fully in compliance. Their bill more than doubles and almost triples.
right.
So there's higher income versus some of the other places.
It's
I mean,
based on seats, right? That's
yes, based on seats.
for most of the business.
Yeah.
The service station across the street is different, and the Ohio Administrative Code, it addresses the fact that that's based on islands. And
That's
there is
correct.
one island out there.
That's correct.
So that and SPY, I think.
Yeah, $5. Yeah,
Or-
and that's why
Yeah,
their bill
yeah, I
is
should
at
have
the
that.
178.13.
That's probably one of them that's cut and dried. I mean, I don't know. Is the rate, is that fair? I don't know. That's something you guys will have to decide. But
Well, that's what we're trying to figure out where where the numbers came from. I don't have any information
From
on
the-
where they
he had to
directly
get them
came
from the EPA, and I think it says something up there at the top of that chart.
This is suggested flow
Okay.
guide for basis for you or you
Okay.
Suggested.
suggested. I mean, that's
Right.
not set in stone.
But we
And then-
had to give the EPA something.
Well, I understand that.
But no, the BPA has to set the rates.
And that's what we're trying to do this morning. I mean, obviously we're kicking around the bush a lot, but they're trying to find out information to find out if one business should be charged $769 and everybody else is well under 200. That's
Well-
where the question comes in. And I understand that they potentially are using a lot
Yeah,
more.
they're using 5 times.
But some of these other places may, like the Lions Club, I
Right.
think they're using more than what's this calls for. If you figure out how many
Who
people are
gave
there.
them figures for
Well-
Lions Club?
Yeah.
That's what we were going by.
Couldn't have
Nobody,
been the president of Lions Club, could it?
I have no idea. I'm just going by what
It's-
council gave me, the 100
yeah.
seats. That's what Aaron, and no one to this point, when JJ's supposed to have talked to people or whatever, no one to this point has said, yeah, we're going to call up the Richland County, was it the board of,
Yeah.
I have it written to
Right.
say it correctly, basically be in compliance with the,
Well, he said you
This
could
down.
get occupancy for all
Yeah.
these buildings.
yeah, they can, but they have to call up the Board of Building Standards in Richland County,
Okay.
and then they need to have them come in and do that.
Why hasn't that been done then?
Because right now, all the power we have is to suggest.
Have you
Council
suggested
has
that?
to vote to give you permission to do that?
No, that's within our purview of this. I called the state. I've talked to the state, all that stuff. Yes, sir.
I would think being a business, they should already have that.
They should have, but Village of Mifflin,
They
Village
should
has
have a
no zoning.
certificate someplace that
Village of
says,
Mifflin wasn't under any kind of compliance with building codes and stuff until recently, which we found out that. And then I literally talked to Ken Arthur himself on the phone from the Board of Public Building Standards. I talked to people above that at the state, from the state fire marshal's office, etc., on down, and they chased me all the way down to the Board of Building Standards in Richland County. And he said, talk to your fire chief and suggest that the businesses do that. Otherwise, I mean, we fall
Well-
into compliance with what we're going to bill them based on the information we have.
how about you talk to the businesses and ask them if they'd like to do that, or you're gonna have to bill them at whatever, if they'd like a real rate,
And last I spoke to JJ, he was supposed to be taking care of that situation. If it hasn't happened, haven't had them
Steve,
yet.
right?
If JJ has not done that yet, I'll follow up with him and find out if he's
I
talked
mean-
to him. Because to me, it was a matter of the fire chief walking in, taking care of his responsibility of saying, "Hey,
Right.
you guys are not compliant here, etc." That was how it was passed
Okay.
on to me. When I talked to Pam Ewing back before about it, that's how she suggested it too. That's where I got the
Yeah.
idea of calling there
But
to pass that on to them.
if I'm the Mifflin Inn and I know my bill is gonna be $700 and I can lower it by getting a certificate of occupancy, I think I would do that. I mean, that's just,
Well, I have a question on the Mifflin Inn though. They have that 40-person party room that is
Mhm.
never used. So
used in the summer.
is it? How often?
I don't know if it's used once. Does that mean it's used? This questions for the board.
Well, that's just part of the discussion there. Is there should be the type of user be adjusted? That's where we got to decide too. I mean, is there say okay, you have say 80 seats they're used year round, and then you have an occasional,
Yeah.
but without, and then there again comes the question. We don't know how often it's used, and without a flow meter on there, because we don't have water, you don't really know the true nature of the usage.
Yeah. Do you
That's where
ask them to tell you every
And
time
that's-
they use it so you can bump
and
the rate?
that's where this gets very
Yeah.
hairy and difficult.
Oh yeah, it's complicated. It's
Well, I can tell you if you were the one that had to pay the $770 a month and you didn't use the 40 seats but once a year,
Now, why can't
You'd
they
be
put a
complaining.
flow meter on their pump? They got water coming in. Why can't they put a flow meter on their pump coming in? Non-tappable. Why didn't they do that?
I don't know,
You know?
because we was going off a flat rate
Yeah.
and we had all these charts.
Might be able to advise them to go ahead and buy a flow meter for their water. And that
We
would
can
give them an idea, and that's an idea how much they're using.
somebody's still gonna have to read it.
Then you get a meter reader.
and you got maintenance on it.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't got no maintenance on a meter comes into the house.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
I lived in Mansfield where they had a meter on there. It was the same meter when I was a kid as it was when I left there 40 years later.
So it lasted 40 years. What if it only lasts 10 minutes?
Eventually, you're gonna have to have maintenance.
Just like these grinder pumps.
I was gonna
You know,
send them.
yeah. This $3 credit they're giving, if a pump locks up and doesn't blow the breaker, your electric meter's just gonna sit there and spin. At the next bill you get, it's gonna be whatever.
Well, right now
Is
we're
the
almost
village gonna
playing,
pay?
almost
I
playing
can
blind,
guarantee
flying
you,
blind, because we don't know
pump
what
walks up,
we
it's
don't
gonna
have enough
kick off the
information what our
breaker.
actual
It's
bills
You're
are.
guaranteed
You know
that.
enough
I can
information. Do we have
guarantee
enough
if there's a
information to
pan-
know how we
there's
gotta
a
break it down?
Breaker inside that pan is rated at 20 amps. If that pump locks up, it's gonna kick off the
We gotta
breaker.
get to set the budget. And we have to know expenditures.
It's gonna heat up, it's gonna kick up the breaker.
Well,
Trash
as far as
talk everybody.
far as that goes, and I don't, there's no easy answer here. And at the
Right.
moment, we were just discussing, we do not, to this point, I don't know if we have enough data, enough information from this plant running to say, okay, here's pretty much set in stone what we're going to need, or pretty close. And obviously, you're going to build in a little bit of, a
Oh, yeah.
backstop to that.
Yeah, you're at
But-
least 90%.
well, we're
right
not.
now, so.
So right now we're not. It's so to say, okay, let's break this out differently to disperse the charges more evenly or equally or fairly or however I don't know if we're at the spot to do this at this moment. That's what we're running up against too,
Right.
because we don't. I mean, if our expenses are way further, way higher than what was originally calculated. I mean, so we're gonna have to raise rates some.
Well, yeah.
Well,
Obviously.
but I hate to send a bill out to, let's say, the Mifflin Dairy Bar that says it's 35.63, and then we decide that it's really should be, you know,
But that's the job of the BPA, Amy. I mean, it's
71. We are not going to be able to
Where
recoup
did
that
these-
though.
understand that.
I mean,
Yeah.
we have got to get these rates done so that I can get the
Well-
bills out. Because the dairy bar is going to be operating for
Right.
how many months?
The raising of the rates is going to be an ongoing process.
Yeah, that's subject to change. Where did these numbers come from that you have here?
Oh, those were just ones that were thrown around.
That's
One
just
of-
Potentially.
suggestion, at least.
We need to look at when somebody buys the Mifflin in, okay, if they stay open till 2:30, which they can, and they have to run the full bar, okay, then it might be justifiable for them to have a much higher,
Well, I'm not saying they shouldn't have a higher bail, but I guess my
at this
question,
point in time, no.
and my question in my mind is, well, how they run their businesses is their choice,
Their
whether their
business,
hours and
right.
so forth. Well, where my biggest question is how is it that the rates take yours to 769 and then you got an assembly hall that's at 35?
Mm.
That's where the question comes in. And that's where somebody with some of the adjustments he made. I'm not saying necessarily we have to lower
Well-
theirs way down. Maybe it should. I don't know. But at the same time, I think when you have a place that can be easily used
So
as
that's-
much as the church should be somewhere on the same
Just
same billing.
That's like 20 times between the Lions Club and the.
Well, yeah.
So, go down there and count customers of the Lions Club for a week, and count them over here for a week. You think there's 20 times more people going into Mifflin? There's
Possible.
probably more.
Well, I'm not saying that, Fred.
No, yes, I
But
understand.
maybe
but
$769 is what it should be.
it's just a way
No.
to justify.
Just for argument's sake,
Yeah,
I'm saying that.
just-
But I don't think
yeah.
3563 is accurate for down there. That's
Probably
what I'm saying.
not. No, that $700 is too much. But is that what other businesses are paying in different towns?
Well, that's what we found out, and no, they're not. They're not. They're paying, upwards of 450 or 500 out there high end.
Yeah, should the dairy bar paying the same as Pete's Treats and Ashland, which is the same basic building, up to what 435 a month?
447.
Yeah, I mean, should they be, or do you set it where they pay all year and get their rate down a little bit?
Yeah, per monthly they're down because they're paying
Yeah.
yearly instead of seasonally. Yeah, well, that's what we got to figure out.
Yeah,
So,
it's-
I mean, how's any
That's on the BPA. I mean, that's,
thought process or discussion?
it's just my deal where
Yeah.
whatever you set them rates, we have to make up. I mean,
Well, I understand that.
we've only got.
We don't know if the 2850 is a good rate or
Well-
a low rate or.
But he's
What?
assuming that the residents are going to have to make it up. Like I said, the dairy bar is way too low. That's taking up some of what the Mifflin Inn is.
Right.
So, I mean, it
Well-
doesn't necessarily have to be that the residents are making it up.
Well, if you make these equitable, we'll say, drop the Mifflin and raise that changes
That's
no
kinda-
rates.
Right,
Okay.
right.
At some point, how's the sewer board's funding right now?
See, that's a question that really I can't answer. We have too many unknowns. We don't know how much insurance is going to cost. We don't know how much the testing is going to cost. I have outstanding bills right now. Ohio Edison, I have a bill for $724.30 for the month. So until we get some months under our belt, we're not going to know where we stand. I mean, we've got some money, from the assessments, but how long is that going to last? I don't know, because we really don't have a clear picture of what our expenses are going to be at this point.
So have you started billing yet?
No, I haven't.
That's retro to March.
To March, that's correct.
And
Now,
is there going to
most
be
people, their bill for the month is only going to be $13.50
because of the assessment?
because of the assessment. So I'm not really. I mean, I need to get the bills out, and that's what I'm saying. We have to get this done because I don't feel
Well-
right for sending the bills out.
Well, you've got a late charge on there too.
It's not going to be a late charge if I don't have the bills out, though. I mean, you can't give
Well, we
somebody
have
a
to
late
decide
charge.
if we're gonna adjust any of these rates right now.
Is that what
because
you
we have
mean,
to
that I
bring
have
it
to
to
charge
council
people a late
No.
charge?
to approve or not approve.
What,
That's what
when
our
is the late
problem is.
charge? This month, next month?
After you receive the bill, the rate
Okay.
charge rate goes.
Right, right.
Fred, didn't you say that once we start charging billing, we can't do that until we accept the sewer plant?
They've changed
They
the
would,
ordinance.
they adjust the ordinance to,
So,
we can
'cause
bill.
we can't accept that plant yet when it ain't running.
Well, they've changed the ordinance that I believe you're gonna accept the plan.
Basically,
No, no.
basically, you're gonna accept the client, but the town's not gonna sign off for after the year. The engineer is not gonna sign off for a year. And then he signs off, he's gotta say the plant's operating the way it should be operating.
There was language in the ordinance that said it one way and said the other, and
Right.
our understanding of the last council meeting, they adjusted it where we could start billing now, took some to change the language in the ordinance. Since
You know,
it's in use.
plant's not
Because
gonna
we
be-
we
yeah.
can't operate with just what we're getting for the
Assessment
assessments.
Oh, I know that.
So, you know, and with the conflicting language in the ordinance, one of them had to go so that we could
And
start.
which one was it? I'm not, because there was,
It was 9.
I think you had 3 things on one ordinance, which I don't really know if that
Are you
was
asking
legal.
which ordinance was changed?
Yes.
It was 9, paragraph.
Was it changed to accept the plant or was it
No,
changed
No.
to
Changed
the
to-
billing?
Change for the billing.
Okay.
You changed the language, basically took the language out that it said you couldn't bill until they accepted it.
Right. Yes. Ordinance 9, section 2, paragraph D, subsection 1.
So, by saying that, the contractor is still gonna be liable for anything
For a year.
for a year. From when? When we accept the plant?
January 1.
January 1.
So when you say they're here and they're gone, what does that mean? That means if something happens, they don't have to come back?
No, they can be responsible for anything for a year.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the ball's in your
You know-
court,
you know what I
Brian,
mean?
that's what,
So
you know.
this is something we need to discuss here.
Alright, so we
That
gotta
whole
table
village
that.
behind you.
I don't think so.
Well, we as a board need to figure out if we're gonna do anything about adjusting these rates, cause we gotta adjust, rates gotta be taken to council, if something's gonna be adjusted, they have to approve the ordinance, and we have to get that passed through, Mr. Hunt, or Hunter, for
Hunter.
Mr. Hunter, to get it drawn up, so, you guys have any thoughts, any suggestions on the rates? On the classification, cause we're looking at this ordinance 13, 9, whatever, I always get them all mixed up. Yeah, the ordinance 9, they had the ERUs stuff listed.
Well, like the fire department. Based on this, which I'm not sure how. On the flow, it was a count of 2 unit of measure office building employees at an ERU of 0.1, which makes the bill $7.13 based on that calculation. But 1 ERU is the minimum, so that would be $35.63. Polk fire department is $75
That's their base rate for everybody though, right?
for everything. Now Hayesville, theirs is $39. Jeromesville is $40.50.
Well, there's certain things a village should do, and giving the fire department probably the lowest rates, one of them.
I don't see where the fire department's the one that's the biggest question. The two biggest questions in my mind, aside from making sure we have these garages that are the west side and the Vesper, making sure whether they're actually operational or however they are classified is taken care of. And then you have the assembly hall down here
Okay.
versus the church versus the Mifflin Inn.
Okay. What do you think? Then we'll start with the Lions Club. Then what do you think?
I think the Lions Club, though, has its usages, and they have a church in there, and they have their AA meetings, all that stuff. It's closer to me, in my mind. It's the same as what the church up here is, and as far as that goes.
Might
I
be.
mean, would anybody disagree with that? I mean,
I agree.
classification. I don't think it's just simply a town hall, because if you take the equivalent in Hayesville, they have the shelter house. That would be they're considered their town hall or shelter house. That gets rented out occasionally. It's used some during the ball season for restrooms and so forth. It's not used like our assembly hall down here is used a lot more often.
Well, and that what I have there for the shelter house is only January 2017. That's not an average.
Probably,
I did not.
They might have a flu rate on theirs too for the summer. It might be different when the ball season's in.
Oh,
that's the
we
only
do.
thing
We have meters.
and that's what my point is that they have that busy season. You don't really understand that.
Right.
They're used every month, and it's busy, just as busy down there easily as it is up here. So maybe we need to reclassify. There needs to be maybe potentially different classification for something like the Lions Club. Right now, like we said, we're using it as an assembly hall. So I don't know if you need to change the ERU on here for the assembly hall or add another classification.
Well, however you do it, you're gonna have to make a formula where you can do it in
For
a year.
anything else, yeah.
You know, if you change their rate now, it's got to be based on something like next year. If you need to change your rate, you can't just come up with a number. You're gonna have to have a formula, I would think.
Right.
So you know
We
how
need,
you got
we,
there.
We need to either change the classification there,
Yeah.
or we need to change it to be not by office employee, whatever. It needs to be by something
Seat.
else.
Well,
Well,
this is by seat by assembly hall.
right,
So
but
you either got to change the ERU here, or you got to change the classification so they meet the other ones. Say like similar to where's the church at? Where the church is, which is 0.03 per sanctuary
Church.
seat.
right.
How many seats does the Lions Club have?
They're saying one.
This says 100. JJ said it's more like 82, but it doesn't matter whether it's
Yeah, what's it
82
come
or
out at?
100.
0.0.
It's 0.01, so at 100 it's the minimum, 35.63.
And at 82, it's basically
It's less than the
it's
minimum,
less than
so
the
it
minimum.
really is the minimum. So
Well,
And the church has their claim to say 100 seats too, right?
right.
so why is theirs different?
Because they have the
Because it's not
0.03. The
a-
math changes.
Because it's classified as an assembly hall. That's an assembly hall.
Okay, and
That's a
that's
church.
So when you take 0.01
So 0.01
times it,
and
or
point
0.03
03.
times it, that's where the math gets.
Okay.
Where the number in the decimal place changes things dramatically. It's either, like in his situation where you're coming up with $7.13, or you come up with $106,
Okay.
and that's only a 0.02 difference. And that's where, it's like, okay, I know that everything was thought out to make it mathematically work for the EPA to say your bills can get paid, but was it thought through the point of where it's equitable and feasible, like, for everybody? So we either need to change the assembly hall ERU to 0.03 to match the church, basically, or we need to come up with a new classification.
Correct. That's what I would say.
Any ideas on that? Simplest thing would be to change give either way. You can classify this. So if you change the classification, what will we classify it as?
Well, what do you guys think? How much are you thinking that the Lions should have to pay?
I'm thinking it
that's the
should be
question.
equal to the church by
Well,
itself.
then that's simple. Then you change it
Change the ERU or
to add is there any reason why we can't add a type of user and say assembly hall /
church? Because I mean,
Church.
they literally do have church.
I don't see
and
there's
their
anything
AMEs
wrong with
over-
that.
You get to the board, you can pretty much.
Yep, we can
you
do
know,
whatever we want. I mean, you guys can do whatever you want.
We could change it to an assembly hall with weekly usage, or however you want to put it. Because then, if it's not just a church, it's a
Yep.
club that meets there or whatever. You
Yep.
guys,
Yeah. Because the church will be moving at some point, but
yeah.
another one might move in. I mean, it's.
Does that seem reasonable to you guys? Assembly hall
Sounds
with
good to
weekly
me.
usage,
With
weekly services usage. How would be the best? Weekly meetings. I don't know. What would be the best terminology? Anybody got any idea?
I'd say usage. Then it wouldn't be.
That
You know.
specific or generic enough?
Because if you're having a party or something,
Yeah,
it's
probably.
not a.
I wouldn't put a whole lot in it.
Okay.
you know.
So we need to put that to a vote, and we'll charge that
Uh,
at the.
Well, let's get them all done.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we would.
First.
Okay. Well, let's decide on that. We would.
We'll
Yes,
have to do
let's-
the
We'd
math.
assess their ERU at 0.03, the same as the church.
Let me see what it would
Per-
be at.
Says same
Because you
per
can
seat.
make it whatever you want.
We would say per seat, 0.03 per seat. If we equaled it to the church, does that seem logical, or we need to charge more or? Go 0.02.
Brian, if you think they're the same,
I say they're same. I say we go with 0.03 myself. What do you guys think?
Good.
Assembly hall with. I don't know. Weekly usage of that.
That I don't know if that's clear enough. Because I mean, assembly hall is pretty generic.
Well, I guess I'm just questioning what if there's 1 week that they don't use it, but the other 3 they do. You see what I'm saying?
that's why you should just put assembly hall in.
Or just change the assembly hall to the 0.03. That would be probably the
Why
easiest
didn't I
way.
think of that?
I was kicking around the bush, getting to it, see if anybody else had. That was in my head. But yeah, if we change this assembly hall ERU to 03,
Okay.
that would be the simplistic way to do it, I suppose.
Okay, so that would make them 106.88, same as the church.
Yeah.
Okay. Next.
Next would be, well, we don't, whether the 2 garages are in business as, operational businesses, that's something gonna have to be known. But I mean,
Well,
should
I mean,
they?
we need to do it.
Well, we're gonna have if it's not these 2 that are in business now, or somewhere else can come into town, set up a garage, or buy one of these 2 properties. I know this is potentially gonna get sold. Somebody's gonna use it as a garage. Okay, so we need to decide if they're gonna be charged the same as the service station, which is the, $5 or the 5.0 per
Right.
island. Because there's no actual.
Doesn't it say?
See, that's
service
because of
bay?
the island.
Yeah, it says service station one first island.
Right?
It
we
doesn't
don't
have
have-
any.
have
There's
no
no
We don't
classification
have body
for.
shop.
There's no body shop classification.
Right,
There's no
so
bay.
So we
would-
need to add a body shop classification.
They would be at the minimum.
Yeah, we need a body shop classification. Like you said,
Because
they'd
they're
at
gonna
the
be
minimum.
less than a house, as far as the restrooms, and that's all we're really concerned about.
Yeah, it'd be garage or body shop, and then you'd have X amount of employees potentially, because the more employees, the more people.
Right.
Yeah, but
I don't think they're ever.
based on that right there, you're coming up with less than the minimum
Yeah, based
on
on
the
that.
per employee thing.
But it goes to the
Because
minimum.
Yeah,
right,
it automatically
right.
goes
It
to
goes
minimum.
to the minimum.
But it'd be a classification that can add, and then like I said, it would still go to the minimum. But at least they're covered.
Right. I think we need to add a type of user.
Yeah, which be a garage or body shop. Would that be the descriptive enough? Auto body or service garage or body shop? You guys good with that? And then you want to put it the same as here, like 0.1 per employee. Would, you got to do something to go kick it to the minimum.
I know.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's
Okay.
me.
These
All
two
right.
places down
There,
here.
there.
How many bays do they have?
Oh, man.
Well, they have 2.
They have 3.
3.
3?
Oh, yeah, there's right. The one on the back. They have 3.
But it's not
But
based on days.
It's not based on bays, it's based on employee.
Well,
Based
that's
on
what the flow
islands.
was.
Really?
No,
Yeah.
the
it
flow was
flow
based on by service bay,
I don't know.
but that's not really classified correctly.
but they had the count of one service bay.
But they actually had 3, and the other one I think has 2 in all reality. So I think you could go per employee, which we know they will kick it to the minimum, but at least
At least you got someplace.
at least
to
you got
start.
someplace to start. You guys agree? Just treat it same as the retail store, 0.1 per employee. Alright, so that takes care of the assembly hall, garages. We need to discuss the dairy bar and the restaurant pretty much, right?
End zone.
Oh, the end
Has
zone.
McCormick's,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go on. I just thought of something.
are they in there?
Who
McCormick's, the.
is this coffee shop? That when you said that just no. We need to talk about them because I don't know what
They still have their license and stuff, so.
I only come to this far. So
Yeah.
as for anything else, I don't know.
We
But
also have a
that-
trading post.
that was yeah,
What
we
is
have
that?
that on
We
the
don't-
list.
That's kind of a retail store, if you will. But there's nothing for a coffee shop per se,
No, there is not.
which that's closer to it's closer to a restaurant per se. But it's not 24 hours.
Do we have any idea how many seats they have?
Wouldn't they be considered a restaurant?
They are,
Yeah. So,
well,
yeah.
He's not operational, hasn't been, but apparently he does have his licenses.
Yeah, and if they're connected in, they
And
can
they
pay
do
the fee
have-
to be disconnected.
they do have parties down there, so.
So it should be a restaurant, not 24-hour, 18 cents per seat.
Yeah.
So coffee shop. You guys agree?
That'd be
Restaurant, ordinary, not
not 24 hours.
24. I don't like that. Ordinary. And then that 0.18. So we need
Per
to find
seat,
out.
we need to find out what seats are in there,
Mhm.
which is one of the ones we need to get back with JJ and find out if he's talked to any of them.
Mhm.
Or you could send them owners a letter, Brian.
Yeah,
don't
well, I
know.
guess we could do that as also.
Tell them you're trying to come up with a rate for them, and rather than charging them way too much, you'd like to know your seating.
Rather than charging you $770.
Right. I mean, it's,
Yeah, certificate of occupancy would clarify what you have, because that's the
yeah, I mean,
Board of Affairs going in there.
this is our rate, and we don't know what
We
the
can
else
draft
to go.
something up like that, can we? Yeah, well, we need to put that to a vote to, or anything to draft that.
I don't think so.
Okay. So then next would be
You want to do the trading post?
the trading post. I would think would be considered a retail store, would it not? Alright.
That would make them at the minimum.
Yeah, that's what they are. I mean, essentially they're I hate to use the term junk, but they are have a flea market type store. Yeah, they're
The only thing is down there, they do have that water coming in from the spring. And if they dump that into the sewer at some point, that's just gonna be 24 hours a day, X amount of water. So I don't know what the rules are with that in the EPA, whether that has to go in a storm because, you know, they got them minnow tanks. If they start selling bait again, is that sewer?
The spring comes in the store?
Yeah,
In the store?
in the store there, it comes right in.
I would think it should be discharged into the sewer. I mean, it's,
You say it should?
I would think it should be.
And that would be, I mean, it runs 24/7, so.
well. If we need to add a retail store, I don't know if there's a 24. If you go similar to what the restaurant 24 hours, they charge 0.7 more. So if it's a retail store with 24-hour service, then we would up the rate. Yeah, are you there?
But yeah, I don't even know if
I don't know what that
cover
would
it,
be
right?
cover how you would do
What
that.
kind of flow were you talking on?
Yeah, I don't know what
Is
kind
this
of flow there is.
a filter or-
No, they've actually got a pipe in there about the size of your finger that runs and up If you look at the kit, well, not now, but
I don't think that's gonna be operational though, because that building's not up to code. But we need to, I mean, that's just something, because we don't wanna bump theirs way up, he's not happy being in Mifflin anyhow.
he shouldn't have bought here then.
That's his decision.
That's
That's a
right.
personal matter. But do we need to add a classification?
Don't wanna run his ass
For
out.
what's the count?
Retail store with 24-hour operation. That's not in there, but I think maybe we should add it just in case for future.
But I mean, is that clear? 24-hour operation?
it's probably
Because
not.
they're not open 24 hours.
Yeah.
Theirs might not be, but do we need something for the future?
Could go 24-hour discharge.
There you go.
24-hour discharge. Yeah.
Retail store, 24-hour discharge. All right, what are we charging them at?
No.
So then you're not at the 35.63?
Yeah, they would probably put it above that.
Well, do you do that now?
I don't
Since
know.
it's not running?
But that's something we got to consider for the future. I guess we'll have to address that
Well,
if it
let's-
happens.
Let's table that one right now and just leave him as the retail store.
Yeah,
And then let's consider that as a new classification,
later on.
like at the next meeting.
Yeah.
So we'll do a retail store for him, so that'll leave him at the 35.63 for now.
Yeah.
And then if we find out later, then we'll change him then.
All right, so that leaves the dairy bar,
Okay,
which
dairy
is
bar.
considered. What are we running those under? It's considered.
Coffee shop employee.
What's the Village Point pay
Village.
in Hazelwood?
I know, I've got to find my right paper.
I know that's bigger, but
30, well, see that it's hard too because I didn't go find an average. I only
Oh,
used the January and that was only $39. Who
But
we
when
talking
you go-
about? Oh, the dairy bar.
But
So
when
that
you go
would
by
be-
the peach trees, though, we know their flow goes up. But we obviously, like we're saying, we're charging them 12 months, and they're not, and they're getting charging what, probably 6 months.
That right, but this is their average of
Yeah.
those 6 months. 50 to 447.
Well, what do we have them even classified as? I mean, do they fit a classification in here?
Well, see, that was the thing. I did not know how to make the jump from the flow rate to this ERU because
Well, I don't even know if we have a classification on our ERU list for them, do we? Does anybody
No.
see what they would be classified as in there?
because on the flow rate it was 4 coffee shop employees and
Well, we
I
don't
just
have a coffee shop on here. That's the problem.
I know, but it was by employee. So
Yeah.
the only things we had by employee were 0.1.
So we need to make a classification for the dairy bar.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyone have any idea how to classify them? Like the words for that?
dairy bar. I don't think you have to worry about too many coming into town. You know, you might get another one.
Would that be clean enough, dairy bar?
How about restaurant, comma,
Not
Seasonal.
24 hours.
dairy, bar, not 24 hour.
Alright, so what would dairy ERU need to be?
Restaurant.
Let's see,
See, and
what's-
that's by seat.
Restaurants by seat, you'd almost have to go, and if you go by employee, you have to make it high enough to make it above the minimum.
A lot high.
Well, I don't know. Well, yeah.
Maybe
You
they
Because they're
can't go by that.
400.
You can't, I don't think we can go by that.
they might, I don't know, you almost have to create a flat rate.
We're gonna have to do something different with them.
No, you guys would almost have to think we'd have to go the flat rate with that because they don't truly have seats. Their employees takes it to the minimum, but I think they should pay a little more than the minimum. They got enough flow and discharge out of there.
Well, first of all, how much do you think that they should get charged?
Well, let's see, what's Peach Treat's average if you figure out? I know they gave you a range, but let's see, 6 times. What's 6 times the upper end? $2,400.
Times the upper end?
Yeah,
Yeah.
be like around 24,
6.
2,600, take that and divide by
26.82.
12, curious what that brings us to. 223.
But I mean, you can't take the highest. I mean,
Well,
you
I
would
know.
have to take.
I'm just saying what the highest, figuring out what the highest end would be. The lowest are paying. Well, right now they're probably comparable to the end zone almost.
Well, all right. This is what I did. I took 447 minus the 50.
Although with the end zone being, I think the end zone's pretty. What they're having the bar situation there now, there's pretty close to what the price you're paying
Probably.
with the 198.79.
Okay, what I took was 447 minus the 50 to get what that
Okay,
is there. I divided it by 2 to get the average of what that is.
so that'd be a 198. So that's pretty close.
Times, hold on, times 6, because that's what they would be paying in the middle, if it was in the middle of those two numbers. Times 6, that would be 1191 per year. Divided by 12 is 99.25.
So roughly about $100 a month would be.
Mm-hmm.
That seemed.
But that would be all year long
Yeah, charge them $100 a month
for the dairy bar.
because we don't have set as a seasonal rate,
Right.
and if we unless till we get water and flow, we can't really adjust that differently. Seem logical to have that classification, you guys?
Yes,
Alright.
but whoa.
Yes, ma'am.
But you can't just put. We have to.
Well, I don't know how you're gonna do it per seat per employee. We got our new classification. It'd be a flat rate charge. You'd have to almost. I don't know if that has to go back here to this part of adjust. That'd be a question for Hunter. We either gotta. What is that beginning part? Wherever this one is, you'd have to adjust this non-residential meters or blah 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 over here, or we would create. We gotta do something to create this over here. I don't know how to word that, but I don't know how that would be done. But that's probably the only
You
way
gotta
to really do
so
it.
that you can justify it next time you have to raise the rates.
Right.
I mean,
Do they have seats? How many seats are
No.
at their tables?
they don't have seats.
Well, sure they
The
do.
dairy bar?
Well, yeah, they've got
outside
those
seats?
tables outside.
Outside seating, but you can't. Then you're gonna say $25 a seat, $10 a seat. I don't know.
No, I mean
People
the
sitting in
end
their
zone
cars.
only has 31, and they're at 198.79.
Well, they have the picnic tables in the back, and they have
Yeah,
a few seats
cars.
on the side, but then people sit in their cars. I mean, I know what you're trying to say. If you
I'm trying to
should
get
figure
it
out, we can put it in a CRU, but
right. But I guess well,
they don't fall into either, and they're not a flat rate business in reality. When you got the usage comes from all
'Cause
their
you don't know.
$50 per window for ordering window. Hey, I'm just trying to
Well, I know.
Well, then it'll be one of them's a pickup window on the
per window. Then we'll charge them by each window they have.
I get what you're getting at. To classify it under the ERU. I don't know. That's a
I'm
question.
trying to get it more
in
so it's
compliance with the list of this. It's
conforming with
that. I
what
get it.
everything else is instead of saying, hey, you're a flat rate.
I don't know how you can get around having a flat rate. I don't know how you would.
maybe you do
Otherwise-
them all flat rate.
Dairy bar.
Change the ordinance. Flat rate. If one business goes up, then all businesses go up X amount.
That could be a way to do it.
Okay, so what do you guys want to do? Restaurant, dairy bar, not 24 hour. How much are we doing them?
The dairy bar seems to be like $100 a month would be logical from what we're kicking around mathematically with these other businesses and so forth, right?
Around?
$100 would be, you guys say 100, they make an even number than the 99 change or whatever we came up with. I don't know how to. I know we got to get it in here, but that, like you said, the only other way to do it is if we took away this ERU units, how it is here, and say, okay, this business is charged this amount, this business is charged this amount.
Okay. 100 flat.
Is that something you guys want to consider? Just coming up with I mean, that's going to take us a little more time than today probably to come up with the flat rates there, but that might be something we come up with and discuss separately and then figure out next month when we come in.
Down the road.
This might be a question for Hunter how to put it in though and add this in there because the council is going to have to vote on it to add this stuff in.
Mhm.
So, all right, so that just leaves us with if there's any adjustments need to be made for the Mifflinette this time, right?
I have the end zone in the restaurant left.
Well, the end zone I think is pretty cut and dry with the 31, unless they and I already talked to the owner and I said if you guys want to have their certificate of occupancy drawn up since they changed their blueprint, then that's
So
up to
they're
him.
198.79.
Yeah, they'll go with the 180.
No change?
No change, no,
Okay, got it.
because they're the only ones in compliance
Okay.
Yeah.
at this point. And then as I told him, you change your footprint, but you can have them redo the math. It may
Right.
lower it a little bit, but they got the outdoor seating. It may go up, but so it may be a benefit too. It's still gonna be about the same.
And then the township garage and the fire department are gonna stay at the minimum.
Yeah. I wouldn't say they need to change. And
Okay.
even though I guess it'd be fair or unfair at this point, if we had talked to the owners of the Mifflin Inn or who was going to come in there, they may want to go ahead and get themselves certificate of occupancy, and we'll rock off a different number. Yes, sir.
Township garage got a grinder. So are you gonna deduct the $3 on top of that from them or?
Yeah,
Yeah,
according to
gonna have
what
to.
it was changed, yeah.
Garage grinder.
I think the letter to some of these places might be the way to go with the certificate of occupancy because, I mean, you don't want to I don't want to charge them too much, but the only other thing to do would be to adjust the CRU, which is 0.18. Say, okay, is that a fair amount? I don't, obviously you got that off of, from the EPA or wherever it came, other than just per seat, or they just get a certificate of occupancy and say, okay, this is what our actual seats are. And then they may consider changing and shutting off their back 40 seats or whatever. That might be the best way to go about it. And then we can discuss that going forward if that needs to be adjusted and do some more research. For today, though,
So are you saying leave
I
the
think we might
restaurant
need
at
to leave it.
770?
I don't know if we need to temporarily do that till we get more facts, or maybe push them to actually
That
see
might
about
push
getting
them
their
to do that.
to get their certificate of occupancy.
I'm thinking they've got one hanging up over there.
According to records from Richland County, they said they took them 4 weeks to get back to me because they went back to the paper records. They have no only business in town. It may say that, but there's nothing on record. They went through all their records back through the paper and everything,
Okay.
and they told me the only place that had one in town was from 2009, which was the end zone.
So what did Ken say now that they're in charge of the zoning for the businesses?
Unless they had essentially what I understood is, unless it was, unless they were approached by a business owner or let's say there's somebody took something up with the fire marshal not compliant or some kind of thing like that and it sparked that coming in there. They weren't just going to come in on their own, from my understanding. They had to be prompted to come in. That wasn't just something they were going to do
You could
on their own.
recommend to the council to ask them to come in.
Well, I would recommend. Well, see, how I was handling it through them was, and would talk to council, which would be recommended to council to get with JJ as the chief of the fire department. It was suggested that the chief of the fire department not go in and say it was mandated, but give them a strong suggestion to get it done because to get them in compliance.
So you'd like to get the rates set.
Yes.
So
So we need to have that. So that's where they should get themselves in compliance. So whatever leverage or leaning or whatever it can be used, yeah. And that's from what Ken Arthur was telling me. That should be done through the chief of the fire department
Yeah,
to go in.
if they go in and talk to them about it, they may just go ahead and do it. You
I
know
think
what I'm
that would
saying?
be the way to approach it and
In
go
a
about
nice way.
it. A nice, pleasant way, yes.
Right.
I thought.
And then
Did JJ say that he couldn't do that? That he wasn't?
he wasn't
Certified?
certified to do that.
that's where he was questioned. But according to, it didn't, Ken Arthur didn't tell me anything about needing to certify or anything. He just said whoever your and fire chief is to go in and talk to him. And he may not be able to actually certify them, but he could go in and strongly encourage them to get a hold of, the Board of Building Standards and get it done.
I'm sure they probably would, because that would be in their best interest,
Yeah. And then after they see what the situation is, if they want to close off their party room or whatever, that's up to them to cut down their seats and so on. And if somebody takes over and wants to open up the bar till 2:30 in the morning, well then obviously they're gonna have more usage. So I think that's kind of where we have to leave theirs at the moment.
The restaurant stayed the
Yeah.
same?
And we can do some more research and see if this is a fair enough number compared to other places. But at the same time, until we get certificate of occupancy, we're really flying blind in some
Yeah.
aspects, and they're not in compliance. So we need to recommend to council to talk to JJ and have them go in and talk to the businesses, and we need to put out a letter too. I'm sure we can draft something up as well to let them know that we're trying to set the rates, and this is how to go about it. Maybe perhaps both will get their attention. I think that's the best way to go. All right, so
hold on. So, let me just get this written down, what the recommendation to council is then for this, what we have changed.
Yeah.
So, recommendation is
change the assembly hall ERU to 0.03.
change assembly hall ERU to 0.03.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Add a new classification for service garage and body shop.
New class service garage body shop,
which would be
0.10
0.10 per employee.
Okay.
We need to
That
suggest a
restaurant dairy bar, not
24 hour flat rate of $100. I don't know how we can put that as an ERU, honestly.
Okay. Stay the same, no change. Coffee shop.
Yeah, coffee shop.
So we're gonna add a restaurant ordinary, not 24.
Well, actually, that's just already in here. That's what we're going to classify that coffee shop as. We just need to get their seating. Yeah, that's what that was for, is for their seating.
Oh, so
those
we
are
don't
the
need
two
anything.
suggestions. Yeah, and then this was the
That's
trading
gonna
post is how
be
it's going to be
later.
there. That's a later discussion.
That's later.
Yep. All right, so
Okay. Oh, sorry. Go on.
do we have a motion to recommend to council to change the assembly hall ERU to 0.03 and add a new classification for a service station and service garage and body shop, which would be an ERU of 0.10 per employee, and then add a new flat rate designation for restaurant, so dairy bars, and not 24 hours of $100 per month.
Yes.
So,
You're seconding
second,
it?
yeah. All right. Roll call vote.
Brian,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yeah.
All right. The only thing else before us, I guess, today would be, do we want to recommend to council to take this service contract, septic service contract for the generator at the plant?
I thought we were not going to do that.
I say we have to say no, right? We just want to get on the minutes that we're not recommending it, right?
Okay.
I would say no. We'll stick with having our regular technician in person. So I'd say we know or decline this offer. So if we need to put it in, just put it in the minutes that we're declining. However, we got to do it. I don't think we need to put it to a vote, right? Do we need to?
Yeah, go ahead. Just
Okay.
declining service
Contract.
contract
For the
for the generator.
All right. Do we have a motion to decline?
Yes.
First, do we have a second?
Yes.
Roll
Brian?
call. Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yeah.
All right.
is this something for the meeting?
We talked about two-family dwellings before. Would they be charged two
Two
rates?
family dwellings?
Yeah. when Hunter was here that
I
day.
think each unit was gonna be, each occupant would be charged, if I
Okay.
understood correctly.
Is
So
this
if it was a two-family, each family would be charged.
is this a
And-
2-family dwelling here?
That's what it says. Use code.
Where are we? Oh. Is it set up that way?
I have no idea. I'm just going by what the use code is at the auditor's office.
Yeah, they'll bill that accordingly. Yep.
But if it's not set up as a 2-family,
Where's that at?
It's on North Carolina.
That probably is that big piece of place. It's only one dwelling. They had the meter taken off.
so then she'll just need to go to the
She'll have
courthouse
to get
and
that
get that
fixed.
changed.
So I'll get it adjusted, but right now that's what it says.
Okay.
Where's your two dwelling at?
Alright, the only thing else to consider today, which should be real brief, is in the ordinance 09. It was brought up that under the section, 1, or section A, under the heading 1, down here in paragraph 7, it's connection of any structure containing plumbing fixtures which provides waste removal provided structures within 200 feet of the village sanitary system is compliant with 90 days of official notice. It was asked for the board to consider changing that 200 feet and moving it out to 500 feet, which would put basically everything that's around the village into that compliance. I don't know if that's something we need to maybe table the situation today, think about it, or want to get into that, but that would put the residence sits on the hill, who actually owns that? I know Kale's, but Bowersock's place in compliance because they're like at 204 feet. Brings Freddie's place into question, or put that into that same thing, which he's
Have
already
you
signed
asked-
easement.
Have you asked Mr. Hunter what that means?
No, I haven't directly talked to him. This was brought to my attention. That's where I don't have a lot of information
I
on this.
think you should talk to him because
What number are you on?
Yes, 7.
I talked to him about, this is why my land down there didn't get put on till August, because I was more than 200 foot away, and I asked him, and there's an email floating around that I think we could find, that if it's more than 200 foot away, Dave, do they have to hook up? Yes, you still have to hook up, but you don't have to do it within the 90 days.
As far as I understood, some of this was floating around had to do with the health department, and if they were to fall out of compliance, they'd be forced in, or they can voluntarily comply. Now, the only thing that was brought to me was for there was no arguments or questions or whatever, and you change the footage so that way you kind of force the hands of those, or specifically one who wasn't wanting to be compliant. So that's just something potentially to think about. We can talk about more at their next meeting if you want. We can table that. I would consider that. I can talk
Well,
to
the
Mr.
thing
Hunter
is,
some more.
if you change that, you know, Kevy's gonna have to hook in, I'm gonna have to hook in.
Which you already said you were willing to do.
I'm
your own
willing to
place,
hook in, I gave the easement.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think
but Tim keeps saying once they're out of here, they're out of here. So,
No, I'm thinking if they do hook you in, Fred, back there, it's possibly gonna need a grinder.
I'm positive it needs a grinder.
And we right back where he was at the electric. Who's gonna pay for the electric?
Well, at some point, somebody's gonna have to talk to me,
Yeah, so-
or they're gonna have to talk to the health department.
that's something I'll bring up with Hunter, and we'll table this to the next meeting. But I would, it was asked of me to consider that. I know we've been running a little long today, but something we should look into, consider.
The BPA probably should look into finding out what it costs to get a meter base set at, say mine. Maybe the next guy down the road needs a grinder. Maybe he doesn't want to supply electric to the village, you know, or change the ordinance and force me to do that.
Well, that's a consideration also,
So, you know,
to change it to the residents need to comply with having the electric hooked up to theirs, and they'll get a discount.
pretty sure that won't fly, Brian, but that's something you
I don't
can,
know. It's something.
you can't.
It's something we'll talk with the
Right.
attorney about. See how we can adjust these two things for brevity. All right. Any other new business? Anything else? So we need to have approval of the minutes and the financial reports. You guys got a chance to look at the minutes?
Oh, hold on. I didn't hand this out.
But who does really need that, the guy that owns the coffee shop, who does he need to get hold of
Who does you need to get a hold of?
to let you guys know?
I can, Board of Building Standards, I don't have the phone number right here, but I can look up for you.
Okay,
You need to talk to Ken Arthur at the Board of Building Standards of Richland County.
Ken Arthur,
But
Yeah,
this is something somebody on the BPA needs to do.
okay.
do what?
If she's contacting the coffee.
I
No,
just see him, he comes in the store
no,
all the
he,
time.
Oh.
they need to call, the individual business owners have to contact the Board of
Get a
Building
certificate.
Standards to
But what
get
I'm
themselves
saying
certified.
is somebody from the BPA needs to contact that business owner to tell them that he needs to get.
Well, actually, that's gonna be
Single
run
letter.
through. Yeah, it can be done by us. It can be done through, which I would suggest it from Ken Arthur to do it through the JJ. But if somebody just asks in general, yeah, that's the information. They need to go to the Board of Building
Do you want me
Standards.
to have him contact you, that way you just give him, that way.
If he wants to, that's fine. We're gonna have to.
He's very
We're
nice
recommending the
person.
council to talk to JJ about do that. We'll try to look about drafting some type of letter to send out to.
That'd be the easiest.
Yeah, he's real nice.
But that's all right.
I passed around the
Bills.
bills. Those are the outstanding bills. Why don't I have my other report?
That electric bill pretty much stayed the same month, month. Electric
a
bill
lot
for
of-
running the
that's
plant.
pretty high electric bill.
Pretty steady.
It's
Yeah.
pretty steady.
Ain't gonna be cheap. is it?
Why?
Huh?
Why?
Why is it so high? I have no
Is that
idea.
just 1 month?
Yeah, it's been around there.
It's the design of the plant.
Was that for the client plus the pump station?
I would assume so.
Okay.
I'm sure that pump station probably
Yeah.
runs pretty.
Here's the bills that were paid last month. And then the other is the outstanding bills that will be paid
So we need them.
next week. Yeah, so we'll need approval to pay the.
Do we have approval to approve the financial statements? We have a motion. One. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Roll call.
Brian,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yeah,
Do we have a motion to pay the bills?
yeah,
Yes.
Roll
Brian?
call. Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Gilbert.
yeah.
So that just leaves the minutes. We have a motion to approve the minutes from last month.
Yes,
Yes.
Have a second. Yep. Roll call.
Beth seconded it. Brian,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Gilbert. And then the only other thing I have is just for your guys' information. Where we stand on who's paid the assessments and who has not paid the assessments. So it's just a quick and easy little chart. There's an X, they paid the assessment for that particular. Across the top it says first quarter, second quarter, 2015, and so on. If there's an X there, they have paid it. If there's a number there, that means that they only owed like a partial month because they purchased or sold their property between the quarter.
Did we earlier have a recommendation to council to talk to JJ about talking to the businesses about the? Nope.
No.
I'll get with Vicky. Maybe she can do that.
Okay.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I had like 5 people offer to pay my bill last
Yes.
month.
Second for
Yes,
motion.
help. No
Beth
one
seconded
did.
it.
Yeah. Roll call.
Brian,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Gilbert.
I'll get with council, somebody from council talked to them about talking to JJ. I'll get with JJ again. We'll need to draft a little letter too we can send out.
Okay,
Give
the
it
only
back.
thing that is not up to date on here is I just got the assessments from the auditor, so that is not reflected on here yet.